Welcome to the darkness of the night. Another secret ancient land will be unlocked. The mist hangs low over the damp emerald canopy of the Mazandaran forest. The air is saturated with the heavy, mossy scent of decaying wood, wet ferns, and the cold, sharp breath of the nearby Caspian Sea. It is early dawn, and the first faint, pale gray light of the sun struggles to penetrate the dense, tangled ceiling of ancient oak and ironwood trees. A skilled woodcarver, his hands permanently stained with the dark walnut oils of his craft, sits outside a small, isolated timber cabin. His breath forms thin, fragile clouds of white vapor in the freezing morning air. Between his calloused knees, he holds a massive, solid block of seasoned cedar wood that he retrieved from the deepest, most treacherous part of the valley. He is not seeking to create a mundane object for the crowded markets of the coast. He is searching for a figure he believes is already trapped inside the grain of the wood. For 7 consecutive nights, he has dreamt of a woman with braided hair made of ivy and eyes that hold the absolute stillness of a deep forest lake. In the dream, she whispered that she has been frozen inside this specific cedar tree for 3 centuries, waiting for a chisel that could release her without drawing blood. He knows the one wrong strike of his iron mallet, one careless slip of his hand, will ruin the wood and trap her spirit in a fragmented, silent torment forever. The forest around him is alive with a subtle predatory stillness, as if the ancient trees themselves are leaning in to watch his work. The woodcarver strikes the first blow. The sharp, hollow sound of iron hitting wood echoes through the misty clearing, a sudden defiance against the ancient silence. A single, thick curl of cedar wood falls to the wet earth, releasing a fragrance so intense it smells of ancient rain and forgotten soil. His heart beats with a steady, heavy rhythm, matching the deliberate movement of his arms. As the outer bark is stripped away, the deep, blood-red hardwood of the cedar is exposed to the pale light. He begins to carve the fine lines of the face, his movements turning fluid, guided by a memory that does not belong to his own mind. If he succeeds in freeing her, will she exist as a living entity, or will she remain a beautiful, cold phantom that destroys his sanity? Is it an act of creation, or is it a dangerous obsession that would consume the remaining years of his mortal life? He presses the blade of the chisel deeper into the grain, his fingers growing numb from the biting cold. A sudden, unnatural wind rushes through the valley, making the giant ironwood trees groan and sway violently. The mist thickens, swirling around his boots like a living gray smoke, obscuring his vision. He realizes that the forest is resisting his intrusion, attempting to protect the secret it has kept for hundreds of years. He closes his eyes, refusing to rely on his sight alone, trusting the tactical feedback of the iron and the wood. He feels the resistance of the knots in the cedar, the subtle changes in density, the hidden fractures within the grain. Slowly, under his blind, persistent touch, the form begins to emerge with terrifying clarity. The curve of a shoulder, the intricate braid of the hair, the delicate arc of a brow appear from the rough timber. The air immediately surrounding the cabin grows strangely warm, the smell of cedar mixing with the scent of wild spring violets. He opens his eyes and steps back, dropping his tools into the damp grass. The sculpture stands before him, perfect, detailed, and completely frozen in the dark red wood. But as he looks closer, he notices a subtle, terrifying detail. The wooden chest of the figure is rising and falling with a slow, shallow, and genuine breath. The silence of the forest returns, heavier and more suffocating than before. He reaches out a trembling, oil-stained hand, his fingers stopping just a millimeter away from the warm wooden cheek. A low, vibrating hum begins to emanate from the core of the cedar, a sound that resonates with the bones of his own chest. The eyes of the sculpture, still solid wood, seem to track his movements in the gray light. He is faced with the ultimate devastating choice of the true creator: to leave the work as it is, an immortal masterpiece of wood, or to give it the final vital spark that will make it human but mortal. If she becomes human, she will be subject herself to the decay of time, the agony of loss, and the inevitability of death. He picks up a small, fine needle made of polished bone, the tool he used for the most delicate details of the eyes. He places the tip of the needle at the center of the wooden pupil. He strikes it gently with the palm of his hand. The wood cracks with a sound like a small bone snapping in the quiet room. The red cedar grain shifts, softening, turning into smooth, pale skin that warm blood is beginning to feel. The heavy hair loosens, the braids tumbling down her shoulders in rich, dark waves. She blinks, her eyes opening to reveal the deep, terrifying stillness of the forest lake he saw in his fevered dreams. She steps off the mossy stone base, her bare feet pressing into the soft, wet earth of Mazandaran. She looks at her hands, then looks at the woodcarver, her voice like the soft rustling of ancient leaves in the wind. You have broken the prison of the wood, but you have bound my destiny to the short, fragile thread of your own life. The old cabin seems to fade into the background, the forest expanding to swallow them both in its eternal green embrace. He realizes that he is no longer just a craftsman. He has become part of the folklore of the land, a man who traded his peace for a masterpiece. The sun finally breaks through the canopy, casting long, dramatic beams of light that illuminate the clearing. The block of cedar is gone, leaving only a scattering of red shavings on the floor. They walk together into the deeper part of the woods, where the paths are not marked on any map, where the ancient world still breathes. You, who listen to this story, know that the things you try to create or free from your own mind carry a weight you cannot predict. The materials you work with are not dead. They remember where they came from, and they demand a price for their transformation. Are you willing to carve through the rough exterior of your own life to find the hidden truth? Are you ready to face the consequences of bringing your deepest, most terrifying dreams into the reality of the waking world? The woodcarver and the woman vanished into the mist, their story remaining in the whisper of the trees. Listen closely to the wind in the branches, and you will hear the echo of the iron mallet. Look closely at the ancient oaks, and you will see the faces waiting to be found. This is the end of the wood and the beginning of the life. Until our next journey, farewell.